Hey everyone, it's Impulse with a new video. This time is going to be a little different than my usual stuff. And if you guys enjoy it, go ahead and drop a like so I know you guys want to see more content like this. But with that being said, let's talk about the history of Ford's PowerStroke. In order to start the history of the PowerStroke, we got to talk about before the PowerStroke. So 4 years before the internet was made public, Ford started a partnership with International Truck and Engine Corporation to create a diesel truck. They also worked on other types of vehicles like the E-Series vans to make them diesel and such. This partnership started mostly to help bring a diesel truck into the market so Ford wouldn't be so expensive on Ford's end from starting it from zero to nothing basically. Plus, International was really good at making diesel engines. The first truck that this dynamic duo created was in 1983 featuring a 6.9 indirect injection, which is different than what it was currently. Like today's trucks usually have direct injection making crazy amount of torque, but this truck however was only making about 170 horsepower and 315 foot-pounds of torque, which was a big fucking deal back in the 80s, and it sold quite well because of it. I mean, I couldn't find the exact numbers from 1983 for the Super Duties, but Ford sold almost 500,000 F-Series. That includes F-150s, but it also includes the F-250s and up. Overall, Ford was doing very good with their trucks in the market. The 6.9 was replacing a 400 cubic inch engine, and this truck kept similar torque and horsepower numbers, but the biggest difference was its fuel efficiency. It was closer to the 4.9 inline 6 that was offered in the S1700. So 5 years later, in 1988, Ford replaced the 6.9 with the 7.3. Now this isn't the 7.3 that your dad might have owned. This 7.3 was indirect injection engine, and it was similar to the 6.9. This one, like the last generation, it didn't have a turbo. The new 7.3 and the 6.9 shared the same stroke, but it was bored out to make it a 7.3. The biggest difference was that the head was completely redesigned and also made the block a little bit stronger, and it was pretty similar to the one that would replace it eventually. Even after all these upgrades, it didn't equate to how much upgrade in power and torque. However, Ford and International had something special cooking up. Now this truck was probably the truck that your dad owned, the legendary 7.3, the first PowerStroke engine ever produced, also known as the T44E. This beast was a little bit more modern with it being direct injection, but something else. Remember just a few moments ago when I said International and Ford had something cooking up? Well, this was it. They added a freaking turbo, man. This unit of a truck was putting out 275 horsepower and 525 foot-pounds of torque. The 7.3 ran from 1994 to 2003. The 7.3 came with electronically controlled injection making up 21,000 psi, and this is when Ford really earned their name saying built Ford tough. Came with the cast iron block and cylinder heads, and you can ask Gabe, he fucking pulled one out. It was a big bitch, bro. The 7.3 also came with forged connecting rods, and this beast easily ran over 300k and more. A lot of people were just making it last forever. This is why Ford started their saying. Ford International did some upgrade to the 7.3 in 1999. They added the air-to-air intercooler and the HEUI fuel injectors. And for you guys that don't know, HEUI stands for Hydraulically Activated Electronically Controlled Unit Injector. This system added the second oil pump, which made it a low pressure and a high pressure system. Fuel pressure will also increase by the injector or at the injector by the oil pump. However, things for the PowerStroke were about to get a little depressing. And it isn't a history lesson about the PowerStroke without talking about the infamous 6.0. Around this time, International Truck and Engine Corporation decided to change their name to show more organization in the company. They changed their name to Navistar's operating company. I mean, in my opinion, International was just a better name, but I could see why they changed the name because it can get kind of confusing. Navistar and Ford had a very good relationship at this time because the 7.3 was freaking awesome and people loved it. The 7.3 kicked so much ass they even put it in the Excursion, which was pretty cool, but it didn't sell very good, so that sucked. But something had to come ruin the fun. Something that always comes and ruins the fun for every car enthusiast and truck enthusiast there is. Federal emissions, bro. Yes, I understand that we need to take care of our planet because, you know, it's our fucking planet. It's the only place that we can live. The only place our children will live. But, I mean, gotta roll coal, bro. But on a more serious note, we really do have to take care of our planet. And unfortunately, emissions is a way that we can take care of our planet better. But back to the topic of this video, the main reason Ford and Navistar had to move on from the 7.3 was because of the federal emissions that were being applied to the diesel vehicles, which led to the troubled child known as the 6.0. I feel like there's a lot of people that see the 6.0 as like Bart Simpson, that's just like kind of a pain in the ass, but you just can't help but love him. The 6.0 had its problems, but it wasn't the worst truck out there. Okay, it might have been the worst truck out there. I really don't remember because I was like, what, like 4 years old? It did have its issues though, like it would just explode. The head gaskets would constantly just destroy themselves. The heads would lift, and if I keep going on, the video is just gonna take forever. It was kind of unreliable, so it didn't sell as good as the 7.3, and it wasn't sought after like the 7.3 was. In the 6.0's defense, it had to follow up the 7.3, which is kind of like going to a dunk contest, finding out that LeBron James is dunking right before you are. It's just, you're fucked. Like, the 6.0 did have its problems, but it did have a very passionate fan base after it. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's very similar to the Bart Simpson, you know? Can be a pain in the ass, but like some people just absolutely love them, and Gabe is one of them. Quick little side note, if you make it this far into the video, Gabe learned to like better trucks. So how do we start it?
So you pull this little red wire right here.
Just kidding. Don't ever change for anybody. Love yourself for who you are. But for real, thank you Gabe for the idea for this video. So shout out Gabe again. Like I said, it had those crazy motherfuckers making those things bulletproof and doing this and that to it, making it super torquey and super fast. I mean, as fast as you can make a diesel. I mean, they can get pretty fast, so. The 6.0 did have the impossible task of following up the 7.3, and it also had to keep up with the Dodge Cummins and Chevy's Duramax. It was a very difficult task, and it tried to do it as best as it could. It was obvious that Ford had dropped the ball with the 6.0, but things were about to get even more rough for the PowerStroke. Things with Navistar and Ford weren't so good. Tensions were kind of high. Money was a lot of problem with money, you know. Money is the root of all evil. But in my opinion, the thing that really fucked up the relationship between Navistar and Ford was the fucking 6.4, bro. The 6.4 diesel. The 6.4 PowerStroke, bro. The 6.4 was so bad that a lot of people were like, okay, maybe the 6.0 isn't that bad, bro. And if that is an indicator of how bad the 6.4 was, like, bro, you have no idea what's coming. The 6.4 is arguably the worst diesel design in the past 20 years, 30 years. Like, this shit was atrocious, bro. This shit was so bad, it ended a 28-year-old relationship between these two. That's how bad things got. Like, bro, like, it was so fucking bad. I don't know how to tell you guys how bad this fucking thing was. I'll tell you what, though, it was very ambitious for the time. These two were not scared to push the ball. Like, they were about that shit, bro. The 6.4 was the torqueiest one out of all of them, along with being the most powerful one out of all the PowerStrokes so far. This thing, when it was running, was way more powerful than the 6.0 and the 7.3. It had two turbos set up in a sequential turbo setup. and it needed those two turbos to push out 350 horsepower along with 650 foot-pounds of torque. They were hoping to bring back the power into the PowerStroke name, bro. Not only did it make more power than the 6.0, it also ran quieter, so you could actually hear yourself talking while the truck was running. But other than that, it was a piece of shit, and it ran from 2007 to 2010. And unfortunately for Navistar, Ford would continue to produce PowerStrokes only without them anymore. They said, later dude, like, get shit on. And boy did Ford come up with something good. This thing was so good it made people forget how shit the last 2 generations of the PowerStroke was. The 6.7 was the first time Ford produced a PowerStroke without Navistar's help, and boy was it a fucking banger. When the 6.7 came out in 2011, that thing was producing around 390 horsepower along with 735 foot-pounds of torque, which is absolutely crazy. But then Ford decided, I think we can up the juice, bro. 1 year later, it started making 440 horsepower along with 860 foot-pounds of torque. This thing was an absolute fucking unit, man. Ford finally put the power back in PowerStroke and did it reliably this time too. Then in 2017, Ford said, nah, the torque isn't enough. They kept similar horsepower, but they upped the juice to 925 foot-pounds of torque. Now a brand new 2022 6.7 is making around 1,000 foot-pounds of torque along with 475 horsepower. That's absolutely fucking nuts. And honestly, man, I'm really liking these PowerStrokes, bro. Don't tell Gabe that though. The 6.7 was super reliable, especially in comparison with the last 2 generations of just disappointment. It was also a lot lighter because it was made of a special compound, which was compact granite iron. The PowerStroke continues to sell very well, and it will continue to sell very well. And the future is the limit for PowerStroke, especially with how much better they have become in the last 10 years or so. Ford can now once again say, built for tough. Alright guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions about the PowerStroke. Make sure to leave those thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And if there's another truck or a car that you guys want me to look into its history for, go ahead and drop that in the comment section. And if you guys enjoyed this type of content, like I said earlier, drop a like so that way I can continue to produce this content, because I absolutely had a good time making this video and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Anyways guys, I hope y'all have a good day. Remember to drive safe because somebody loves you, and I'll catch you in the next one.